When my daughter was just 4 months pregnant, the specialist told us that the mass in my grandson's abdomen was just a cyst, and that he would need surgery after birth to remove it. But that cyst turned out to be his bowel. Somehow, throughout the entire pregnancy, scans never detected that he would be born without an anal opening and wouldn't be able to release waste on his own. What is imperforate anus? Imperforate anus is a rare condition. About 1 in 5,000 babies are born without an anal opening. It is a birth defect, where the anus is either blocked, completely missing, or abnormally narrow. When the anus is not present, there is no way for the stool to exit the rectum. In some cases, 1. The anus is too narrow for normal bowel movements. Or 2. A membrane or tissue barrier prevents stool from leaving the rectum. 3. But in my grandson's case, there was no opening at all. The doctors couldn't tell before birth. Only after he was born did we learn the truth. 18 hours later, a team entered the NICU and performed scans on his swollen abdomen. He was then rushed into surgery, where the surgeon created 2 openings in his abdomen, called stomas. That surgery saved his life. Symptoms of imperforate anus: failure to pass stool within the first few hours after birth or stomach swelling. Difficulty with bowel movements, ranging from mild constipation to inability to pass stool. In my grandson's case, you could visibly see that he did not have an anus, and also his stomach was swollen. After surgery, he spent the first month of his life in the NICU. The nurses there didn't just care for him, they taught us
how to care for a fragile preemie with 2 stomas.
So we feel comfortable doing so when we took him home. The surgeon explained to us that the second surgery to create an anal opening would not happen right away. He wanted my grandson to be stronger and weigh between 10 and 12 pounds, which would put him at 4 months old. After being released from the hospital, weighing 5 pounds and 8 ounces, my grandson had frequent follow-up appointments with his surgeon. During 2 of the appointments, scans were done of his rectum, and 1 required a contrast. In the meantime, we kept up with his regular pediatrician visits. By the time he reached 5 months old and weighed 14 pounds, it turned out to be the perfect moment for his second surgery. Surgery day. The surgeon advised us not to feed him formula after 12 midnight. He also said to discontinue breastfeeding by 2:00 a.m. I remember waking my daughter up at 1:40 a.m. to breastfeed him since there were no bottles made. We arrived at the hospital just before 6:00 a.m. Checked in, and got him dressed in his tiny hospital gown. We were allowed to stay with him until it was time to go back. He got a little fussy, so his uncle rocked and danced him to sleep. Then we walked him down the hallway, as far as they let us. After a round of kisses, his uncle gently placed him in the crib. They wheeled him away for surgery. His procedure lasted about 4 hours. We waited in the waiting room. We ate a small breakfast, watched TV, and my daughter pumped several ounces of breast milk. Finally, the surgeon came in. He smiled and told us everything went amazingly well. No complications. Our baby was in recovery, and a nurse would soon take us to see him. The surgeon explained that his stitches were dissolvable, and that we'd return in 2 weeks so he could teach us how to dilate his new rectum. The nurse wrote, "Nothing in anus," on the whiteboard in his hospital room, a simple but important reminder to protect his healing body and make sure no one inserted anything by mistake. For example, a thermometer. My daughter took the entire week off work, so she could stay by his side day and night. His hospital room had a sofa bed, a recliner, and even a private shower, so she made that space her home for the week. A few days later, his great-grandmother flew in to be with him. The hospital provided a rollaway bed, so she could stay overnight. His uncle visited every day. He never missed a chance to check in. Together, we made sure he was never alone. Even though the hospital provided meals for my daughter, we still brought in her favorite foods from outside. We also made sure she had moments to step out, for some fresh air, a change of clothes, or just a little peace and quiet. Dilation. Rectal dilation is a procedure where a plastic probe is inserted into the rectum twice daily to gently stretch and widen the anal canal. This daily routine helps prevent the newly created anus from closing. 2 weeks after his surgery, we returned for a follow-up, and that's when the surgeon taught us how to dilate his rectum. He used a special plastic medical probe, labeled 10, lubed it, and slowly and gently inserted it into his rectum 3 or 4 times. There was a little bleeding, but he assured us that's normal and to be expected. He also let us know that from time to time we may see a little discharge in his pamper, but that it's not a concern. Weeks later, and only a couple of times, did we see a very light brown discharge in his pamper. We were given 3 probes labeled number 10, number 11, and number 12. They ranged from small to big. The first week, we used probe number 10 twice daily. The second week we used probe number 11 twice daily, and the third week too. Currently, we are still using probe number 12 until his final surgery on May 29, 2025. My daughter dilates his rectum once in the morning and once in the evening. Although it sounds uncomfortable, it doesn't hurt him as it's become part of his daily routine. Think of getting your ears pierced. You're told not to take it out for at least 6 to 8 weeks because the hole may close up and then it will be difficult, even painful, to reinsert the earring. So in our case, we made sure not to forget to dilate his rectum twice daily. Daily care and precautions. During recovery, we were extra careful changing his pamper. We only used water wipes, and instead of wiping his bottom during pamper changes, we would just pat his bottom with the baby wipe, and then apply the antibiotic ointment. Also, we made sure not to lift his legs too high, or spread them far apart, as his surgery scar went beyond the anal opening. So we refrained from letting him sit in his walker for the first month post-surgery because his legs would be spread too far apart. You're probably wondering, does he still have 2 stomas? Is he still pooping in the colostomy bag? Or is he pooping through his rectum since the surgeon created him an anal opening? If you have been following along and have seen my other 2 videos, then you have probably already guessed correctly. Yes, he still have 2 stomas. Yes, he is still pooping in the colostomy bag. Why? Because the rectum needs to heal 100% before letting poop exit through it. At 6 months old, his surgeon and pediatrician gave us the green light to introduce cereal and baby foods to him with no restrictions. He was a solid 16 pounds at this time, such a happy, healthy baby. You would never be able to tell that he was born 2 months early at 32 weeks, weighing 3 pounds and having gone through 2 surgeries and living with 2 colostomy bags. Looking ahead, the final surgery. His third and final surgery to close the 2 stomas is scheduled for May 29th, just days away. To close the 2 stomas means to reconnect the large intestines that the surgeon had to split to create the 2 stomas when he was 18 hours old. We're counting down and praying for another smooth surgery and recovery. He's come so far, a little fighter, our little warrior, and there's still more ahead. Caring for a preemie with 2 stomas is scary at first. We know this journey isn't easy. And if you're a parent, grandparent, or caregiver in that same place of waiting and watching, please know that you're not alone. We're sharing our story to raise awareness, to offer support, and most of all, to give hope to other families who might be facing the same unknowns. Our little warrior has already come so far, and in our next video, we'll show how we change his colostomy bag at home. A part of our daily routine we've learned with love, patience, and care. Thank you for being here with us.